should let me love you forever, forever. I wanna love you. Will you let me love you forever, forever and day, 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 day.
We're back. You guys, welcome to TMW Online, the Melanated Way. I am Linda. That is Abby. We are catching up on all things 90 Day The Last Resort. We are on season 3, episode 5. So I know we're a little behind because, you know, life is lifing. We've got life going on, but we love the show and we will always be catching up and we'll always be on top of it. So welcome.
Welcome.
Abby, overall thoughts on episode 5, their day off of therapy and all about the most drama.
Do you know how highly anticipated our commentary is on this episode? The people want to know what we think about this interaction. And so we're going to give it to you, but we're going to talk about everything that happened first.
100%. All right, so we'll just jump right in. So Patrick's being Patrick. And, you know, all the women are looking at him crazy, cross-eyed, as they should, because I agree with everything that the women are saying about him. Like, he is making everything about money. He is generally speaking about women, which you should not do. And overall, like, you're just seeing where his insecurities lay. And, you know, I say this often, men have fragile egos. And so what he is spewing is because he has insecurities in all of those areas, period, full stop. I had forgotten that this is his second marriage. And so that plays into it as well. So he is talking on behalf of Guillermo, and no one asked him to, but that's what he's doing. And he feels that Kara has crossed a boundary with these photos that she's selling online that's making a lot of money for her. And so he says, you know, it's a boundary cross that other men are looking at Guillermo's wife. Now, I want to stop there because, first of all, if you go back to episode 1, Kara had a conversation with Guillermo and said, this is what I'm going to do. Do you remember that, Abby? And he was okay with that. But then she got popular, and then maybe his friends were checking it out. We know Sarper checked it out. She got popular. And so now he has a problem with men looking at his wife. Now she has to be a Handmaid's Tale. Handmaid's Tale? Is it Handmaid's Tale?
I mean, that's the name of the book, if that's what you were going for.
Yeah. She has to be all covered up and all like patriarchal society and all like, you're just the mom that I'm also not proud of my child. So no one should look at you. But meanwhile, that's not how you met her, and that's not how she showed up. And that's not how she continues to show up, because that's who she is and that's who you know she is. But you changed your mind because all these men are looking at her now. Stop it. So Patrick goes on to say that Guillermo and Kara's relationship won't get fixed unless she stops selling her quote unquote racy photos. What are your thoughts on that?
It's interesting to me that none of them have approached this topic, unless I am super missing something, because Guillermo is not looking for a path forward. He's looking for a way to punish her. So I don't recall there being any conversation about what would be required for them to move forward. Patrick can say that if he wants to, but Guillermo hasn't said that. Cara hasn't said that. So where is he getting that from?
That part.
Guillermo has not made a path forward. He's just interested in punishment. And in this moment, they're two peas in the same pod, even though Guillermo doesn't have any money, because both of them are upset that the person that they met is the person that they met. There's nothing that either of these women hid from them.
And I just want to piggyback on what you're saying. The person that they met is the person that they met and the person that they married. But also, as women, we also want to always learn more, get better, do things. And both of these women are doing that. And that is what's freaking both of these men out, which needs to be stated.
Yeah.
Shout out to the live chat. Hello, Olivia.
Hey. Um,
Aisha,
Thank
Julio.
you for coming in. So I think I also want to say something about Patrick and money before we go too far. The thing about men who attract women using their money is that they seem to be upset when the woman then uses or expects that money. And if there are any men out there who are watching, I want you to try leading with your personality if you don't want your money to become a thing that's necessary in the relationship. If you lead with money, then there's an expectation you're going to be generous and spend that money. However, if you want a woman who's also providing financially in the household, then you need to choose a woman who is already working.
Also, you can't also then be like, hey, I'm the provider, I'm the head of the household, I make the rules, and then it's not have the money to back it up, because that's where
Right.
you're gonna have problems. So show up with your personality, great. And if that's what you're presenting, then that's what you're presenting. And it's 50-50 and all the things, and everyone's contributing. And if that's how you set it up, cool. But if you set it up money first, don't be surprised when the woman's like, okay, well, where's the money?
Exactly.
Right? She's going to do the cooking and the cleaning and the rearing of the children and all of the things, but she's going to expect you to keep the lights on and pay the mortgage and all the things. And then you're mad and then now say that she's a gold digger, but you showed up that way. So you can't have it both ways.
Right.
Figure out what type of woman you want. Make sure that you can provide. So if it's your personality that's showing up, then make sure you have a personality, you've done the work. If it's the money that's showing up, make sure you have the money in your bank account, because I don't want to hear nonsense when the woman is expecting what you said that you could provide. Period.
Right. And also, somebody left a comment. Oh, sorry.
I just want to say real quick, hey, she is New Day. That's my roommate. We are like, we go way back. So thank you for showing up.
That's awesome.
Yes.
So I called Patrick a passport bro last time we were live, and somebody took issue with it, saying he's not a passport bro because he is half Brazilian and Thais is Brazilian. And I just want you guys to know that you can be a passport bro even if that is your other nationality or you have a parent from that country, because you'll notice that he didn't go to a place and look for a woman who already was well off, had her own business, had her own job, had her own career. He didn't do that. Okay. He looked for a power dynamic. He looked for someone that would have onus to him. That is passport bro behavior. I don't care what kind of passport he has. I don't care if he has a dual passport. That is passport bro behavior.
Love that. Love that. So Patrick goes on to talk about Guillermo and Cara and how her money that she's making for herself selling these pictures are community property and income. And he is encouraging Guillermo to seek Kara's money. What are your thoughts on that, especially from just an attorney perspective? I know it's immigration attorney, but just a perspective, legal perspective.
It's going to depend very heavily on what state they're in and whether or not they did a legal separation. So you'll remember that they agreed that they were going to separate and they're going to date other people, but we didn't hear whether or not that was a separation between the two of them or if it was a legal separation. So those factors are going to matter. It's not an automatic that Guillermo is entitled to any of her income. It just matters, did they have a prenup? What state are they in? And was it a legal separation? So I would not make the assumption that Patrick is making. And also, I noticed that he wasn't saying that for the purpose of actually getting Guillermo some money. He was saying it for the purpose of you can make her stop by telling her you're going to take half her money.
That part. Yep.
So it's all about control for Patrick. It comes back to control.
100%. Shekinah calls Patrick out on it and said, the two big issues, and you guys, if you watched our show You followed us for all the years that we've been doing this. You know that we talk about the 5 things that you have to talk about before you get in a serious relationship. And Shekinah backed up 2 of them. So the first thing that are big issues in relationships, money. We've said this for years. How you spend money, how you make money, what you think money looks like in the future. Those are conversations you have to have. And I know they're hard conversations, right? Because some people feel like my money is money, my money, and your money is your money. But when you are getting into a serious relationship with someone, you really have to have that conversation. The second thing that Shekinah said was sex. And I've said this from day one. It's important. If you're not having sex with your partner, then that's your buddy. And so you need to know all the things, right? How often do you want to have sex? How important sex is in the relationship to you? What does that look like? Are you like super vanilla? Are you freaky deaky? All the things. That conversation has to be had because all of those things have to be compatible in order for longevity to happen. Do you want to add anything?
No, there's a lot of things that Shekinah is actually right about when she comments. But it's hard for people to hear what she's saying because of other things that she says. So these are 2 things Shekinah was not wrong about.
Agreed. And what's so crazy is at the beginning of the episode, there were a lot of things that she was saying that I completely agreed with. I think that sometimes her delivery is off. But by the end of the episode, I was pissed. And we'll talk about that when we get there.
Yeah.
But she makes valid points, but she also shields it in some crazy talk that makes me think a lot of things about her. And I hope that those things aren't true. Okay, so all the women in the cast are disgusted by Patrick's behavior and his encouraging Guillermo to take half of Kara's money. And let us know in the live chat, if you're watching the replay, how you feel about that. Do you think that Guillermo is entitled to Kara's money, even though that's the money that she is providing as her words, quote, single parent, because she has that child 6 out of the 7 days of the week to provide for. Guillermo doesn't have a type of job where he can provide like that. And so I'm curious what you think. Should he go for half of her money?
Yeah.
Guillermo goes on to say that he feels like it's blackmail. He feels like, why does he need to provide the lost income that Kara would have if she stopped creating this online content and selling these pictures online? He's like, I don't make this type of money and it's not fair. So what should I do? Well, first of all, you're the one that created the ultimatum to her. You're like, hey, I don't like this. You need to stop it. But you don't have a plan. Like, what's the plan? What's the solution? She came to you first before she got popular and said, this is what I'm going to do. And you agreed to it because that's who you married and you knew who she was. Then she got popular and then you hated it. And now you want her to not do it, but you don't have a solution. So the money that she's bringing in, let's say she's bringing in $10,000 a month. You don't make $10,000 a month, but you want her to quit because you're mad about it. Make that make sense. Abby?
I mean, he's not even offering options to be able to help her right now. If she's such a horrible person and you're not proud of her as a mother, then why does she have the kids 6 nights per week? You know, like these things, I'm going to keep bringing it up because it's so inconsistent in my mind when men talk about not just Guillermo, but there are a lot of men out there who talk really badly about the mothers of their children. But if that person is so bad, then why do you only see the kid 1 weekend a month?
Because you're a scrub. Yep.
You know, I can't imagine a situation where I have a child, especially if they live in the same area that I live in, where I'm not automatically volunteering at the school, dropping off snacks, taking them out for dinner. I can't imagine a situation where I think the other parent is not fit, but I have no contact with that child just for 1 day per that's just insane to me that he could say something like that out of his mouth.
Yep. Agreed. We move on to Sarper and Paola.
Mhm.
There was out, and they're getting a workout on. It's Kara, Sarper, Sumit, and Russ. And Sarper's a little comedy. What does he call it? Comedy.
But butt laugh, boot laugh, something.
Yeah, butt laugh, boot laugh, whatever. But it's hilarious. It tells jokes and you work out. I think it's a great time. And what I learned about this little session is that Sumit is a freak. So when Pela was helping them learn how to do wrestling, and then he had that whole dream sequence where he dreamt about Jenny wrestling, but it was in the boudoir and the things and I was like, oh, it's a little freaky freak.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. So that was funny to me. Paola thinks that Patrick, so all the women are not impressed with Patrick. So we're back to Patrick. And she feels like Patrick basically called all of them hookers and gold diggers. And so they have that conversation with Sarper, not so much Russ, because you guys, I'm not sure what Russ's situation is, but he's like a dud. He shows like a dud. And I'm surprised by that. Like in all aspects, not just with his wife, just in personality. Am I the only one that's getting that vibe? Like you don't know what to do about anything. You don't have an opinion on anything.
He's just a whiny baby. Have you seen that video of the girl where she's like, she was in the car with a guy and she was turned off because he couldn't find a parking spot and he was complaining about it, like, oh, I can't find a parking spot. And she's like, there's nothing that drives me up faster than a man who is complaining to me about something that he needs to just take care, just find a parking spot. You don't need to complain to me about finding his parking spot. That's Russ.
Yeah, yeah.
Just find the parking spot.
Russ, just stand for something. Anyway, so Pela's like kind of upset that Patrick is making all these generalizations about women in general. And so they're talking about it, and Sarper's like, well, as a man, you have to show up and have money. He talks about sugar daddies and those situations and men being providers. And it really is a conversation, especially in today's day and age, where we need to start talking about these things, because clearly the traditional roles are no longer super traditional unless you've clearly define that this is what you want and this is what you're looking for. But everyone has different ideas about how men and women should show up. Do you agree or disagree, Abby?
I think that the problem is that men say they want the traditional roles, but then they get upset about having to be the 100% provider. And so I think that these roles have never served either party. Men have received more benefits from it, but it hasn't served them mentally to have all of the financial pressure. So they want an alleviation of the financial pressure, but at the same time, they want that same subservience and submission. So I really think, like, obviously a conversation needs to be had by both, but I really think the onus is a lot more on the men at this time to be able to come to terms with what you truly can provide financially, and then finding a partner who matches what you can provide or what you're willing to provide. Because going into the marriage saying that you're going to be the sole provider and then being upset that you're the sole provider is just not working out with the prices that we're seeing in this economy.
That part, 100%. I'm going to do a side note. Excuse me. I'm going to pull up this troll that is saying that we're 40 and melting and talking about 90 Day Fiancé and that we need to get a grip on life. Here's what I want to say. First, why are you here? Second of all, I can't really do too many comments when you can't clearly write. You're obviously uneducated. So please go back, learn some grammar, and then troll with the proper grammar so that we can actually properly read your negative comments. But until then, deuces.
I think it's a good time to just say, like, let me tell you why I like to review 90 Day Fiancé. First of all, we started off because I was talking about immigration using 90 Day Fiance because I'm an immigration attorney, for those of you who don't know. And then 90 Day Fiance had their first transgender um, applicant on the show, or a US citizen that was sponsoring their partner. And so I came back to talk about that because my son is transgender. And then after that, me and Linda just got along really well. So we just started talking about, the shows in general, like the entire show together. This is something that we do for fun.
Yeah.
Like, we do it for fun, and it can have opportunities to make money off of it. It is a way for me to get immigration clients off of it. So we have, and if you follow Linda, and you should, our personal Instagrams, you'll see she does red carpet interviews, she does hosting. We have really incredible lives. And I think that anyone would be interested in knowing what we talk about here in terms of like relationships, immigration, money, and what we talk about in the other aspects of our lives. This is just a small part of the many things that we enjoy and love. So if you enjoy life and you love life, come enjoy it with us.
See, Abby is just so diplomatic and kind. I know I'm the Canadian and I'm the kind one, but I will go off on you. I will go off. And so those are the two perspectives. I'm going to tell you to go and read a book and learn your grammar. And Abby's going to say, hey, come join us. Okay. How about Peggy? We enjoy having all of you guys here, the good, the bad, the ugly. Once in a while, I can be petty, and I felt like being petty in that moment. I was like reading the comment, I could barely read it. I was like, y'all, all lowercase, no punctuation. It threw me off. So, I mean, if you're going to troll, just troll properly so I can read it properly. Back to Sarper and wrestling, Paola, the whole thing. Sugar daddies, men being providers, all of that stuff. One of the things I thought was interesting is that, as you know, Sarper was an exotic dancer. And he talked about how, he used to dance for money. He used to get money from his clients. He used to sleep with all his clients if he thought they were beautiful. And the only reason he stopped doing that was because his dad found out. But one of the things, Sarper has these moments, you guys, and it's so crazy to do 360 because I really couldn't stand him when he came and presented himself when we first met him. But now I think he's funny. I think he's done some work, and I enjoy watching him. I think he's funny. And that being said, the fact that he's like, yeah, I did that. I stopped because my dad found out. But luckily when I was doing it, there was no internet. So there's no trail of it. And he says to Kara specifically, but it's your life. If you want to sell these racy pictures online, it's your life. It does not matter what anyone else thinks. And I was like, ding, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. And I want to encourage women specifically. People are always going to have something to say to you. They're going to be like, your dress is too short. You have too much makeup on. You don't have enough makeup on. You're too fat. You're too thin. You're too this, blah, blah. You're not going to ever please anyone, and you shouldn't want to. What you want to do is please yourself. If you're comfortable in your own skin and you're doing something that makes you happy, that makes you thrive in your life, that brings you joy, then that is the only thing that matters. Period and full stop. It is your body. It is your choice. Do what makes you happy. As long as you're not under the threat of some male influences telling you you should do this, you should do that. If you truly love whatever it is that you're doing, then continue to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yep.
And I love that Sarper encouraged that in Kara as well, that she just live her life. So your husband might say, ooh, 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 and ooh, 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 and, punish you and continue to punish you because he's changed his mind on what he thinks you should do. The fact that another man is telling you, hey, you know what? Who cares what we think? Do what makes you happy. That's it. The group has no therapy today, which I thought was crazy. You go on a trip across the world for therapy and you have days off, because the therapy I've seen so far, and we're on episode 5, is not enough.
No,
We
there should be no days off.
no days off. But they have a day off, so they've all decided they're going to have a group trip and go out to the bar. In the meantime, we see little clips from all the couples as they're getting ready. Paola talks about how she did her homework from last week's episode, where she was supposed to find 8 erogenous spots on Rush. She found them, and he also had a happy ending. And to go back to what I said earlier, this man's a dud, because she also tells us that he didn't do his homework. And the reason he didn't do his homework is, quote, he was too tired to finish. So you're too tired. So let me get this straight. Your wife makes you completely happy, does the work, finds all your zones, and also gives you a happy ending, which goes in line with what we learned last week, where as soon as he gets off, he's done. And so he stayed true to his character, got lazy, decided that he was too tired to make his wife happy, and I was disgusted by that.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's lazy. I think he's unmotivated. I think he's a dud. I think, honestly, he wants his wife to do all the things to make him happy, and he feels like he doesn't have to do anything in return.
Russ is a loser. Russ is a loser. Here you are. You're on vacation. You're in a castle. You've got no kid to tend to. You've got no job to go to, which is your same situation at home right now, apparently. And the only thing that you had to accomplish, the only thing on your to-do list was to find these 8 erogenous zones. 2 days passed and you couldn't do it because you were tired. You are a just a loser.
I just can't.
I can't even imagine, like, the embarrassment of it didn't get him there. The knowledge that she's absolutely going to say it out loud didn't get him there. Like, nothing motivated him to get there. But I bet you when she starts talking about it, he's going to cry and say she's embarrassing me. She doesn't appreciate me.
And all she ever does is complain about me. I need encouraging. Well, you got to do some encouraging things to get encouring words. Right now,
Exactly.
you're dead behavior, and I'm over your dead behavior. They are all meeting up in the 2 vehicles that are taking them to the bar for their night on the town. And Sarpa and Shekinah are so petty, and I just laugh about it. So they get into the car. They're with Paola and Russ and that, and they just feel like she talks a lot. And they're like, you can't choose who you ride with. And I'm like, you guys, get a personality. You guys talk a lot as well. So are you mad that she's talking and not giving you guys enough time to talk? Because that's all you 2 do is gibber, gibber. So I thought that was really, really funny. Sumit's in this car as well, and he's riding. So it's Rebecca, Zia, Thais, Patrick, Jenny. That's in that car. So that's a separate car. Sorry. It's a separate car. Separate car. Rebecca, Zia, Thais, Patrick, Jenny, Sumit. Those 6 are in the car. And Sumit has a big mouth. And I know he did it innocently, but sometimes you just like, especially when there's a language translation barrier and you're telling the joke, but then there's just don't do it. But he decides that he's going to talk about the workout with Sarper earlier in the morning. He thinks Sarper's hilarious. Side note, Jenny put a little jab into Sarper and said she hasn't seen him do anything funny ever. And so Sumit goes on to tell the group that Sarper was joking about Rebecca. And here's what he said. Strong. So Sarper said that you are strong and powerful. You have a powerful voice. You come on strongly. You had 4 husbands under the ground buried. And I was like, yeah, no one's going to think that's funny because that doesn't even make any sense. What are you even talking about? What are you talking about? So, of course, Rebecca took offense to that and was like, "Oh, he spent the whole morning talking about me, woot woot woot," and she got riled up, right? So now she's on the way to the bar to have a good time, but she is already riled up because she didn't get the full context of what was going on there because Sumit did not deliver that properly, in my opinion.
No, I agree. And I think that in his head, he was saying something that was just lighthearted and funny, but Rebecca didn't hear it. And he probably thought, like, I'm going to start with a compliment saying that she's strong and she has a strong voice. Rebecca didn't hear any of that.
None of it. Nope. So she's upset and she gives a little dig. She's like, yeah, I might have 4 husbands under the ground, but I'm happy to dig a hole for Sarper and his ears. And I was like, oh, this is not going to go well because she's very, in my opinion, from what I'm seeing so far, she's very vindictive. And she reacts in the moment rather than taking it in, digesting it, and then reacting. She's very reactive in the moment. And however she's going to react, there's going to be anger, period, full stop. That's what I've seen so far.
I agree with you. I would add to that Rebecca seems to have absolutely no cultural competency. She does not have any patience for or understanding of language barriers. And that happens with Sarper and Zaid. So she doesn't even bother asking, like, what exactly did you say or what were you trying to say? She just assumes that what Sumit said is accurate, which is something you should not assume when you're dealing with English as a second language.
Agreed. And I also think that if your first instinct is to react with anger, that says a lot about you. And I think that that needs to be explored more because she's only shown up as angry towards her husband, towards Sarper. Anyone that talks to her gets anger in return. That's all I've been seeing.
That's true. That's true. We haven't seen her say, "Oh, I should take that into consideration."
At all. So she is upset, and by the time she gets to the bar, she's annoyed because of Sarper. Um, and my note just says like so she gets there and she's just complaining, and she's just mad vibes. Like you're supposed to be having a fun time and you already are just putting negative energy out there for everyone because you're mad about something that you heard third party that didn't even make sense, but you already have a problem with Sarper, so now you're holding on to that. And I just think that people that aren't happy in their lives, they're gonna find the negative in anything that you say, and then they want to hold on to that negative, and then they're going to spew it back at you because they want you to be unhappy as well. And that's just the vibe that, like, you can't be mad at everything, Rebecca. Like, everything.
Yeah.
So she's complaining, and she asks the group if she can throw a drink in Sarper's face. She riles herself up so much that she gets up and goes and confronts him and says, I hear you were talking about me, that whole thing. Tell me what you said. Tell me the joke. Let me decide if I think it's funny. And then Ziad pops up to come to support his wife, which I thought was a good thing, you guys. I didn't agree with what Rebecca was doing, but I did agree that her partner should come and make sure that everything is, copacetic and to also support your partner. So Sarper says, he says the joke, but he doesn't say it in its entirety, but basically says, hey, this is a joke, 4 husbands. So Rebecca's been married 4 times? I don't remember that. So this is her
it was a part of the storyline of her not telling Zaid before they got married that she had been married so many times previously.
I didn't remember that.
Wild.
Yeah. That is wild. So Sarper basically tries to tell the joke in a briefer version. but his point to Rebecca was that you need a sense of humor, and you especially need a sense of humor in marriage. And I agree with this. In your partnership, your partner has to also be your friend, and you guys have to be able to joke. And when I say joke, I mean joke lightheartedly, because life is tough as it is, and marriage specifically is it's the long haul if you want to go for the long haul. So you can't be super sensitive if your partner is joking around with you. And I agree with that. And if you don't have a sense of humor, it's going to be hard because you're going to think that everything that they're saying is an attack on you.
Correct.
So that was Sarper's point. His point was, hey, you need to be like, lighten up. Rebecca, lighten up. And I'm saying it to you, Rebecca, lighten up. So they're all having a fun time. Guillermo is dancing with Kara, and she is confused by this a little bit because she doesn't know which guy's going to show up when they go out. She says sometimes it's the warm guy, which is this guy who is engaged and loving to a point, but having a good time. Or there's the Guillermo that has been showing up for the past 4 episodes, which is cold and distant and cut off. So she's kind of like, I'm surprised by this, but she'll take it. Meanwhile, Russ, who I think is a dud, he has this beautiful, sexy wife. Okay. And she says, she recommends to him for him to do a shot off of her tatas. And this fool says, but I don't know how to do this.
I don't know where to park.
Abby, do you know how much he took the sexiness out of that moment?
Dried up like the Sahara.
Dried up like the Sahara.
Russ is a bump on a log.
And so, because he's like a man baby, his wife took it in stride and showed this man how to take a shot off of her tatas. And I was mad about it. Because what? What man do you guys know when you offer them some type of sexy something that they, even if they don't know, they're going to figure it out? What man do you know that's going to be like, but Linda, I don't know how should I do? Do you know how to, like, ew, just ew.
Just ugh. So what this tells me is that all the time that I've been seeing them and seeing her be so affectionate with him, what I'm realizing is it was always one-sided.
Oh my God. That just took me out. Russ has been attending Great Guys by Gino classes. Oh my God, so funny.
Oh my God.
The bar gets lively. The bartenders are making drinks, creating an atmosphere, playing the bongo. And we found out something that, you know, Rebecca, free hat for everyone attendee. Okay, Becca, you're distracting me now. You're very. So bartenders are playing bongos. There's like a little light show. There's a whole thing going on, creating a vibe. Ziad is like, hey, let me try. He starts playing the bongos. He's doing this really great Arabic style bongo playing. Everyone's having a good time, partying. Rebecca didn't know of her husband of over 5 years. She didn't know that her husband played the bongos, and she was shocked, but I'm shocked that she didn't know. So you've done nothing fun? You haven't said, hey, let's go listen to music. You've done nothing like that in the 5 years that you guys have been married? 5+ years? You didn't know?
I was suspecting that because I was like, you know, just by virtue of being in the US, his English should have improved from the last time that we saw him. And I'm not saying that as a like everybody needs to speak English type of thing. I'm just saying that the amount of time that he's been here. So I had a sneaky suspicion that he has not really been having an opportunity to get out and meet people and do things. She seems to just want him to just be home and available for her all the time.
I know, but Abby, you've been married for 5 years. You guys didn't have some music playing as you were cleaning the house and he like air drums it, whatever, nothing? That never came up in all the years you've been married. I find that hard to believe. I find that hard to believe.
She's not interested in learning more about him.
Well, that's the problem. That's why you're having problems in your marriage. You have to like your partner and you have to know all the things. I mean, I don't want to put my business out there and I won't, but I'm just saying if I was in a relationship, I knew all the things because that's part of it. Get to know your partner, what they like, what they don't like. They get to know you. You know when they walk in the door, that look on their face, what that means. You know that they like to golf or they like to swim or they like to whatever. They like to play the banjo. Like, I just don't understand. 5 years of married, not dating, married.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know that he could play the bongo. That's mind-blowing to me. Mind-blowing.
It is. It is. But it's indicative of what's happening in their marriage. So
100%. 100%. Like you said, I don't think she's trying to get to know her husband. So he's playing the bongos. Ziad's playing the bongos. Sarper gets involved because, you know, he's a dancer. So he gets on the bar and dances. Everyone's having fun. They're laughing. They're dancing. Having a good old time. But Rebecca gets mad. I was confused. I was like, what are we mad about right now? And so she goes to the bathroom, does a one-on-one with camera, talking about how Sarper's upstaging Ziad, and she's pissed off, and she can't believe it, and how dare he, and woo. I was like, what? Are you reading the room? Everyone is having a great time, and everyone who's a creative is bringing their creative talent. So your husband plays the drums, so he's playing the drums. Sarper, he knows to dance, so he is dancing. East and Kara, they're like sexy dancers, so they're sexy dancing in the back. Shekinah is one of those like sit and watch, so she's sitting watching, but guess what? She's smiling. So who's mad?
Rebecca just wants to be mad at this moment.
All the time. So she starts freaking out in the bathroom while everyone else is enjoying their time and having fun. And then she comes out, and I wish I screenshotted it. She came out and her face was all like contorted, mad, like, and she goes to her husband and basically is like verbal diarrhea. She's mad. She's like, Sarper needs to apologize, and he's upstaging you, and how dare he, and I hate him. And what I thought was interesting is that I think after his one-on-one with their one-on-one with the only therapist so far that I think is doing the work, Dr. T, I think his name is, I think Ziad took that information and applied it, because here's what happens. Rebecca's like freaking out, rah, 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 and Sarper. And then Ziad's like, well, you know, he came over and apologized to me. Oh, well, he needs to apologize to me. And Ziad's like, yes, he does. I was like, oh, he heard what the therapist was saying, and he's starting to implement it. So first check, when Rebecca approached Sarper and he showed up to back her up, that was the first thing. Second thing, your wife is like, rah, 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 and you're like, yes, you're right. Love it. So Sarper's talking about the joke to the rest of the group. Rebecca's hearing him. She's getting angrier and angrier. And Ziad's like, hey, listen, you need to apologize to my wife. That's number 3. He heard what his wife's needs were, and now he is talking about it and making it happen. Sarper didn't want to apologize at first. He apologized again to Ziad, and he's looking at Rebecca saying it was just a joke. It was just a joke. But then he realized, like, this is not going to go away unless I apologize. So he's like, I shouldn't have done it because you weren't there to defend yourself. So I'm sorry. Please forgive me, Rebecca. They cheers glasses, and that should be the end of it. I don't think it's going to be the end of it, but it's the end of it for now.
Right. It's not the end of it because Rebecca still has some steam between her ears, but for the moment, I think Sarper did the right thing.
He did the right thing. Everyone's partying. Then Paola goes to her husband, Russ the Dud, and she thinks that Guillermo is not staring in her eyes. He's staring elsewhere. And I said, as women, we know. And so I don't think she was wrong about that, Abby. I think she saw and felt exactly that vibe, which makes him a hypocrite, right? Because if you think about it, it's like full circle. You're that type of dude. So you are looking at women, maybe objectifying them, maybe sexualizing them, and that's the lens you look through, right? And then your wife is now selling these sexy pictures, and because you look through these lenses, you're now mad at your wife because you know how you are. So it has nothing to do with her, it has all to do with you.
Oh, 100%.
So when we circle back to how he was making Paola feel, I was like, oh, now I get why you're angry. Because you're really angry with yourself and how you view women.
He wouldn't be able to articulate that, though. He would not be able to say what you just said. But I also agree. Another way I would say the exact same thing is men who consume pornography, you have to ask them, what kind are you watching? Better yet, ask to see their watch history. Because if the kind of pornography they consume, we're on YouTube. If the kind of porn they consume is always the kind that is really demeaning to women, or even just the titles of it are incredibly demeaning, even if the actual episode is not, these people are unable to see women as full human beings. And to have his wife become one of those people who participates in that act moves her in his mind out of the category of good into bad. And he's unable to see her as Kara, the woman that I met and fell in love with, Kara, the singer, Kara, the mother, Kara, the balloon maker. Remember, she had like 15 different little side hustles instead of having like one real job. She's always been this kind of, you know, woman of Renaissance woman kind of thing. Those are all parts of her. But the moment she decided to show spicy pics online, she went into one category in his mind and cannot escape that category because it's a cage he's created for himself for what women are. But he would not be able to articulate any of that to you. He's just sitting around angry that she's doing this.
100% agree with everything you just said. Agreed. Hey, Joslo. Joslo says Rebecca has the biggest chip on her shoulder. Don't know how Ziad puts up with it. I feel Ziad is like Edward trying to get a friggin' hug from Marissa. And Becca says Rebecca reminds me of the way that Ari treated Binny when they were on Last Resort. Oh.
It's very similar, but the only difference I think between the situations is that later on after the show, we learned some extra things about Benny that Ari was holding resentment for, but she never told us what they were on the show. In this situation, I don't think there's anything that Ziad has done that's causing all this extra resentment that Rebecca has for him. She just wants him to be available to her and only her, not to have his own friends or have his own life. She's not helping facilitate anything for him. But I have more to say about that later.
Everyone's partying, having a good time. Sarper's dancing for Jenny, which I thought was a cute little moment because he does this weird like bicep move in his dancing, which is like it's such a male dancer move. So I laughed, and then he does this spanking in the air thing, which I just feel is so 90s, but whatever. So he starts teaching some of the moves, and it was a cute moment. I laughed my face off because who knew? Who knew Sumit was such a quick learner? He was whatever the thing, banjo, whatever it is that they were doing, he picked it up quick. He picked it up so quick. I laughed, and Jenny said, "You know, who knew that Sarper would bring out the animal in you?" And side note, just watching this and knowing in real time, and we are sending so much love and prayers to you, Jenny, that she obviously was dealing with ALS back then, but had not been diagnosed. It just totally makes sense. And we are just sending so many positive vibes her way. Everyone's still partying. The group is trying to encourage Guillermo to kiss Cara, and he just refuses to do it. And instead, he kisses her hand. And here's where you see the complete contrast of Cara and Rebecca. Rebecca comes in with anger and just like fighting and nastiness all the time. Cara sees the optimism in everything, even the smallest things. So that could have been a moment where she would have been like, oh my God, he wouldn't kiss me and blah, blah, woe is me. Instead, he kissed her hand. And she said, you know, we haven't had physical contact in so long. And so the fact that he even was able to kiss my hand and that was physical contact, maybe that's progress. She saw the light in it all. And you know what, you guys, I feel like her personality, that's what it is. Like, that's all I've seen. She's like seeing the good in every situation. And I gotta tell you, people that are like 100% that way all the time, you just really feel good around them because they bring the joy to the room. And
Yeah.
what I saw in that, because she could have taken it a different way, and she's always looking at the good side. What can I get out of this that is the plus and the bonus?
I saw on her Instagram, because, you know, people leave her really nasty comments all the time. Somebody left a genuine comment that was like, you know, I don't know why people hate on you so much. You seem like such a nice person, blah, blah, blah. And she responded to the comment and said, thank you for leaving this nice comment. I do think that it'll die down after a while. In the meantime, I just have to keep on going. And I was like, you know, I don't think this is a stunt. I think this is just really who she is. And that was just a really tactful and graceful way to consider her situation. She's just like, oh, it'll pass after a while.
Yep, love it. Hey, Faye, she says, it's been a while since I hung out with you ladies, but I'm here. I'm ready for the
Hey,
welcome back.
You're here right on time.
For real, for real. Okay, so everyone's still partying. Patrick comes over. Now, we just mentioned that Rebecca and Sarper quashed their beef, right? They cheers, the beef is quashed. But Patrick comes over to the group and he wants to reignite the fire and say, oh, I hear you were talking about Rebecca. Rah, rah, rah. And Shekinah's like, you know what? I'm sick of you. I'm sick of you. I'm sick of you trying to stir up things. You're trying to bring up stuff that has already been settled. And the fact that you think all women are gold diggers, I'm just sick of you. And Patrick turns to Sarper and is like, oh, I think your wife hates me. She goes to the bathroom, comes back, and, you know, Sarper's going to say to his wife, do you hate Patrick? In front of Patrick. And she says, you know what? I hate the way, I hate where you're coming from. And I think that you have a poor man's mentality. And when I say that everything she just said there is absolutely correct, it was absolutely correct. Because everything that he talks about, the money part, like the things that she was saying in this moment were correct. Patrick, you have some insecurities, and money is definitely one of them. Being a passport bro is another one. Having a trophy wife is another one. All of these things. And then you're now trying to take all of those insecurities and trying to get a brotherhood. So you're trying to get Guillermo on board, Sarper, whoever will listen to you, you're trying to get on board. And then you're getting called out by all the women. And so then you're now then saying that all the women are gold diggers. Well, no. You need to deal with your own personal insecurities and your lack of, and fill in the blank. Abby?
I 100% agree.
Faye says Patrick gives off such simp energy. It's so obvious that all of his brains are in his bicep.
I mean, honestly, we should probably consider whether or not he's had any developmental damage from the steroids.
That part. Because, men who take steroids, this is what happens to them. First of all, it's like this. So it could have been like this, but it's now like this, and then it's like this. And so if you're like this and you also don't have money, then where is your manhood tied to?
Right. And their standards, not what we would think of as manhood or masculinity, but for somebody who thinks like him of his standards of manhood, then obviously he would be feeling very insecure.
Abby, I know you know me, so I'm gonna say this: if you have an itsy bitsy teeny weeny tiny polka dot bikini, not for me. Absolutely
Not for either one of us, but there is someone for you.
There is,
just not up here.
Just not here. And I'm not sure I know anyone that would say that they're for you, but I'm sure there is someone.
Oh, there's sure there. I mean, like, there's someone for everyone, but they're just not on this stage.
Not here, and not anyone that I know. But like obviously, I'm sure there is someone for everyone, and I'm sure there's someone that will work with that. But you should have thought of that before you started taking steroids. Oh my god, that was so funny of me. Now that I think of what I just said, do you know that song? Bitsy, teeny, weeny, tiny polka dot. Do you know that song? Because that's a really.
I do. She wore an itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot. He's totally a Skeeter Peter. You got to tell me what that means.
And then Becca said, "Not in the live chat."
Not in the live chat either.
So yeah, Shekinah says she just kind of hates where he's coming from. He has a poor man's mentality. Why are you always talking about money? And so she's like reading him his rights. Thais sees what's going on. She comes over to defend her husband. She kind of is like, get your husband. And they start going back and forth. Thais freaks out. Shut your mouth. She points her finger. So you guys had me to there. I thought Thais was tripping. Like, you came in, you actually didn't know all the things that were going on, and you start freaking out, and I get it. You're defending your husband, but you also know who your husband is. You know who your husband is. You know how he shows up in rooms, right? So maybe read the room. But instead, she went full-on freak out, pointed. At this point, in this moment, I was team Shekinah because I think that Thais took it over the top. Then she goes to try to hit Shekinah. And first of all, you never should put your hands on anyone, period, full stop. There's no need to exhort to violence, in my opinion, ever. And so I was not for Thais. I thought that was wrong of her. Shekinah starts freaking out, starts saying, hey, you need to get out of here. Thais starts cussing out Shekinah. And in this moment, side note, making it present day, my note says, I can see how she got those alleged DV charges against Patrick. Because, they're going through a whole messy separation. And part of it is the alleged DV that she put hands on her husband, allegedly. I can see where it came from because she went from 0 to 100 and she tried to put hands on Shekinah. So I can see that in her personality from this clip. That being said, you don't put your hands on anyone. But then Shekinah tells Thais that she needs to go back to her country because she sucks. And if I could have still shot Paola's face and Kara's face, everyone was taken aback because that is a very American racist thing to say. And when I say when the racists don't have anything smart to say, so they tell you to go back to your country, it's disgusting, it's racist, it's ignorant. And for the American to say it in a group of people that are all married to immigrants makes zero point zero sense. I'm going to pause there. Abby, let's hear what you have to say before I move on.
So I have so many thoughts. Let's start with the alleged DV charges for Thais. I have seen, because you guys, I'm an immigration attorney, a lot of DV charges on women that they explain to me are reactive. So I have to say, there's a possibility of that in the situation as well, where you have a partner who is constantly making threats to you, or they are potentially, like they're punching over your head or throwing things beside your face. And when you react to it, then they call the police and say that you hit them with no consideration of what was done before that. I've seen that a lot in immigrant women who are petitioned by their spouses to come to the United States, because then I work on with them on the VAWA applications, the Violence Against Women's Act, or U visa applications, if they then file their own DV charges. And once the police arrive, they tend to be at a disadvantage because a lot of them don't speak very good English. And then also, our police are oftentimes very biased. And then also, the physical injuries show up on the person who actually the hit connected with, as opposed to the person who has been in the house for several weeks dealing with things being thrown past their face. So that does happen. And we have to leave room that that might be Thais's situation.
Okay, and I can we pause, and I agree with you,
Yes.
and I don't want to take away from that. I was specifically speaking about this clip that I saw. There was no provocation on Shekinah's part except for words. She
Hmm.
took the words to a physical level. And so what I'm saying in this moment in this clip, I could see how it goes from 0 to 100 with her, and maybe that's her natural reaction. Now, I don't know what goes on in the privacy of their own home, and I don't know. We already know that Patrick has a simple-minded behavior and has passport bro behavior and all the things. He's problematic. So I'm not saying that that's her situation at home. I'm saying I can see how she can get from 0 to 100 in a moment, and
Hmm.
just words, because that's what I saw in this clip. So everything
Yeah.
that because I agree with you that most perpetrators of DV are not women, and and men know how to manipulate that. So I want to make sure that I am also encouraging women in this situation and agreeing with you about the manipulation. And we don't know what her situation specifically is at home with Patrick, but I also know that in this moment she was wrong. That's it. Okay.
Yeah, that's fair. Shekinah, um, what she said is wrong. And what she said, I think, is parroting things that she's hearing from people around her. Because I don't think that she's around a group of people who are progressive. I think she's most likely around people who are pretty conservative. And I have learned that a lot of conservative people say things like that, go back to your country, and then they hide their hands and say, that's not racist. That I was just saying that I don't like the way that person behaves, which she says. And it reminds me of, do you remember the season of Real World where the girl Julie was Mormon on there? And they were sitting at the dinner table and somebody asked her to pass them something. And she said, do I look like a colored person? Why are you asking me to pass something? She said something that is said in her house that is very normal, that she had never considered the context of. And so when people reacted to her saying, "Do I look like a colored person?" she was very, very caught off guard as to why that's not acceptable and normal. I feel like Shekinah is in one of those situations as well, where this is something that's bantied about in the group that she's with, and she's never taken the time to consider why it's harmful or hurtful.
I agree
So
with you
I'm
100.
not, yeah, like I'm not making any excuses for her. I just think that in a lot of conservative circles, this happens, that people say things without considering the impact of what is being said.
Listen,
And
listen, though, you need to surround yourself with more people then, because here's what I know. It's not okay, period, full stop. I don't care if that's what all your friends are saying and that's all you know. And so that's what you do. You know what? It's 2026. Educate yourself and do better and be better. And at the very least, take responsibility as you see that you have offended everyone, not just the immigrants, everyone in the room. You offended everyone in the room.
yeah.
Every So if everyone's offended, take responsibility for those words. But instead of taking responsibility, she went ahead and said that she hates all of these bees. She hates all of them now. And everyone is terrible except for
Mhm.
her. Everyone's responsible except for her. And then Sarper tries to speak reason into his wife, says, you can't do such things, babe. You can't. But she ignored that and said they're all attacking her. She wants to get out of there, and no responsibility. Meanwhile, everyone back in the bar is riled up about go back to your country comment. And Guillermo missed it because he was at the bar. So he came back and was like, what happened? Whoop, the whoop, the whoop. So he jumps in and he's like, that's not right. That's not right. And he decides that he's going to go outside. He's going to go outside. Meanwhile, Shekinah, so not only has she said to a group of immigrants to go back to their country, she now says they're bees. And on top of that, the cherry on top, Abby, is she says these people are low lives. Sarper tries to correct her and says you need to stop with the generalizations. And here's what I'm saying to you guys. Here's what I'm saying to you, Abby. The racists, when they're like, oh, I'm not racist, I have a black friend. No, I'm not racist, I have an Asian friend. No, I'm not. But when push comes to shove in the heat of the moment, people show you who they are. And so the first time it comes out of your mouth, go back to your country. Maybe it was the heat of the moment, it's wrong, but you take responsibility, you learn from it, and you move on. But then now all of these people are B words. So now you're degrading them and you still haven't taken responsibility. And then now you're going to generalize and say they're low lives because, as you know, black and brown people are always generalized into, oh, they're gang members, or they're low lives, or they work at minimum jobs and this and this and this. So all the stereotypes have all now come out of your mouth. That's not a
Mhm.
mistake. That's not a mistake. That's not just being around conservative people. That's you being a racist, not realizing it or realizing it, but being in the heat of the moment and who you truly are without the politically correct is shining bright. That's how I feel.
So I want to take a moment for us, Linda, because we're educators, to explain to people what is wrong with the phrase "go back to your country."
Okay.
There are people genuinely out there in the world, and maybe some of them are here with us today, who don't understand why that is offensive. Maybe they know I would never say that, but they don't understand why it is offensive.
Okay, so I'm gonna wrap that part and I'll give my opinion, but I'm gonna wrap this part with the recap with Guillermo's words. He says that the reason it's offensive is it's the fight that, quote, we've been having in America. Immigrants have been doing so much in America, so it is disrespectful. Guillermo says it's not okay. And his point was there are a lot of things that are done by immigrants in America that people don't realize, or they do realize and they just don't care. But a lot of the jobs where you're working 4 or 5 jobs to support your family are jobs that no American is going to do. And so the fight about go back to your country, okay, they can go back to their country, but who are going to do the jobs that you don't want to do? Who are going to do the jobs? Who's going to be your nanny? Who's going to cut your grass? All the stereotypical jobs that you guys think are below you, there are people that are doing those jobs. And oftentimes, because they're immigrants and they could be doctors and lawyers in their country, but they come to survive in America and do these jobs that you don't want to do. So now do you see why it's offensive when you're like, go back to your country? And then that's on a surface level. I can talk about this for an hour easily. When we say go back to your country, what country are you from? When you say you're American, because we can talk about the stolen land all day long and the colonization of it all. So there's so many layers of offense, but go ahead, Abby.
Yeah, that's correct. So this is a longer conversation, but for those of you who are curious, I would very simply say that the phrase go back to your country presupposes that the country belongs to European white Americans, because those are the people who say it. Never has a Native American said go back to your country. And so when you make that kind of comment, you presuppose who this country belongs to, and you do not pay attention to who this country was built on. The Chinese, by and large, built the railroad system. Africans who were brought over and enslaved built up the entire Southern economy. Polish people who were brought over in the Midwest area built up the entire trade industry. And so this country, that was before they were assimilated into being white people. And Italians did the same thing with different things on the East Coast. And so this country has been built up entirely by the labor of people who have been told they are subservient to white people. And even to this day, our entire Social Security system is propped up by immigrants. We would have no money in our coffers for you to be able to retire at 56 and a half if it wasn't for hardworking immigrants who do not benefit from the taxes that they pay. And so when you say go back to your country, you're telling somebody the labor that you have paid, the labor that your family has paid and never benefited from. Because I also want to point out that when slavery was abolished in the United States, reparations were paid to the slave holders. They were not paid to the enslaved people. And it's not that long ago, my grandmother was a sharecropper. Did she receive any benefits from that land when sharecropping was abolished? No, she did not. She had to find her own way for herself and her children. So when you say go back to your country, you are saying we have used up all the labor that we want you for, and you no longer have any rights to any benefits in this country that you may squeeze out of it, even though we've systematically tried to make a way for you to get nothing.
So Abby and I are saying the same thing. At the end of the day, what Guillermo says hold true. It's so disrespectful. Do better and be better. That being said, Guillermo goes outside and confronts Sarper and Shekinah and saying, what you said is not okay with me. And now Guillermo and Sarper start fighting, and the male egos collide. Sarper pushes him. Guillermo's drink drops, and that is how the episode ends.
I have a relationship question for all of you in the live chat and Linda. A big part of what these couples have complained about is your partner not standing up for you, not standing beside you. But is there something that your partner could say that's so egregious that in that moment you have to say, I'm not leaving with you. I'm not standing beside you. I'm not waiting until we get home to talk about it, because what you have said is so terrible that I am not going to be able to do this. And would you, part B of that question, would you find anything wrong if Sarper had said, "Oh, you can leave, but I'm gonna stay," because that was really horrible, and I don't feel like I should protect and cover you.
I can't think of a situation where I first of all I would be with a partner that did something super egregious. But let's say he did something racist and I was like, absolutely not. I would have no problem allowing my partner to leave and not leaving with him and not standing beside him because that's outrageous. Period, full stop. So I also think that there are layers when it comes to relationships, and you know who your partner is, and you know how they act in public and behind closed doors. So if there's something that goes on in public that gets to a point where you're like, this is my wake up moment, yeah, it's not okay, then go ahead and let your partner leave because you also are in a public place and that's the best place to be if you're going to make that type of decision. So I do think that if there's an egregious situation and you don't agree, you can't lose who you are as a person. You have to stand up for your beliefs, because if you don't stand up for anything, then what? You go home
Hmm.
and behind closed doors say, "Oh, you shouldn't have called that person the N-word." Like, no. You stay
Hmm.
in the moment, be about who you are, and that's that.
I agree. I would have even said to Thais in that moment, maybe I would have left because the situation is just really uncomfortable. But I think I would have said to Thais in that moment, I'm apologizing. I'm really sorry that that was just said to you. And I want to talk to you about it again tomorrow, but I'm gonna go ahead and leave because I don't feel like me being here will make this any better.
Listen, you all know me and my TED Talks. I would not have been able to be quiet in that moment. My mom does tell me that I talk too much, but I'm going to stand up for what I believe is right. Like, I could go off right now on the unhoused person that called me the N-word this morning when I was minding my own business and she was asking for help, but I won't. But I will tell you that she got a TED Talk. That's it. That's all I have. You guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you guys all for the lively live chat. If you're watching the replay, we appreciate you being here. Leave a comment. We do respond. Hit that like button on both of our pages. You see it right there. And then head over to our Instagram. You guys, I went to covered an amazing red carpet for the Black Eyed Peas and their virtual show last night. Starting to upload all that stuff on my personal page on Instagram. Linda is so girly. If you're not following it, go ahead and follow. Head over to Abby the attorney, and follow her on all her socials. She's got all the great, y'all. If you want to drool about food, if you want to get a little stretch in, she's got it all going on there. Until next time, we're catching up this week. Make sure you have your alerts on. We're coming in hot this week. We'll see you soon.
Bye
Bye.
bye. TTFN.
That's it. Oh, the outro.